Before there were Jedi, before there were Sith, before there were temples, councils, or prophecies, there was only the Force. Not light, not dark. Not balance, just existence. The Force flowed through forming stars, collapsing worlds, and lifeless voids alike. It did not wait for belief. It did not require understanding. It simply was, and the first beings who felt it did not ask how to control it. They asked how to survive it. The first Force sensitives were not Jedi in the earliest eras of the galaxy. Force sensitivity was not a religion. It was not a philosophy. It was not a moral path. It was a path. Condition. Those who felt the Force experienced overwhelming visions, emotional amplification, unlaunted surges of power connections. Across impossible distances, many went mad. Many destroyed themselves. Many destroyed others. There was no guidance. No doctrine. No code. Only raw contact with something far larger than the mind was built to contain. And this is where the story truly begins. The birth of fear. When civilizations encounter power they cannot explain, they do not seek truth first, they seek safety. Early Force users learned something terrifying. Emotion made the Force stronger, love intensified it, fear warped it, grief shattered control entirely. The Force responded to inner states, not external rules. This made it unpredictable. And unpredictability breeds fear. Entire settlements were erased not by malice, but by uncontrolled Force outbursts. A single grieving Force sensitive could become a catastrophe. So the first question was not, what is the Force? It was, how do we stop it from destroying us? The first great mistake. Instead of learning to integrate emotion, early teachers attempted to remove it. They noticed something crucial. When Force users detached emotionally, their power stabilized. It weakened, but it became manageable. This was the first trade. Less power, more safety. And in moments of survival, that trade feels wise. This decision would echo for millennia. The formation of doctrine over generations. Survival methods hardened into traditions. Traditions hardened into rules. Rules hardened into truth. By the time the earliest Jedi Order began to form, emotional suppression was no longer no longer technique. It was an identity. Calm became virtuous. Detachment became noble. Passion became dangerous. And slowly, subtly, a philosophy emerged. Emotion is the enemy of balance. This was never proven. It was assumed. The Jedi Code was not discovered. It was designed. The Jedi Code did not fall from the stars. It was not whispered by the Force itself. It was written by people. People who had lived through chaos. People who had lost entire worlds. People who feared what unfiltered Force sensitivity could do. And so they created words that sounded like truth. There is no emotion. There is peace. But peace here did not mean harmony. It meant containment. The language of control. Let's examine the first line closely. There is no emotion. This is not guidance. It is denial. Emotion is a biological, RELITY, a neurological process, a force. Amplifier. To say there is no emotion is not enlightenment. It is conditioning. It trains young minds to reject their own internal signals. And when you reject something fundamental, you do not eliminate it. You disconnect from it. The Jedi did not master emotion. They avoided it. True mastery would involve understanding fear, integrating grief, allowing love without possession. But the Jedi path avoided this complexity. Instead, they chose the simpler route. Suppression meditation Tandian methods worked, but at a cost. They dulled intuition. They reduced emotional resonance with the Force. They created calm. but not depth. Why the Jedi feared depth. Depth leads to individuality. Individuality leads to unpredictable choices. Unpredictable choices threaten systems. The Jedi were not just Force users. We're becoming an institution. And institutions require consistency. The moment the Jedi stopped listening at some point, the Jedi stopped asking, "What does the Force want?" and began asking, "What does the code allow?" This was subtle. Almost invisible, but it marked the true beginning of imbalance. The Force communicates through feeling. Unease Paul resonantis suppressing emotion. Jedi reduced their ability to hear these signals clearly. They still felt the Force. But through layers of doctrine, the lie becomes sacred. Once a belief survives long enough, it becomes unquestionable. Younglings were taught the code. Before they could speak fluently, Padawans repeated it daily. Masters enforced it unconsciously. By the time doubts arose, they felt like heresy, and heresy is dangerous to orders built on certainty. Early signs of the cosmic lie even in ancient times. Cracks appeared. Jedi who followed intuition too deeply were labeled unstable. Those who felt too strongly were reassigned or exiled, not because they were evil, but because they didn't fit the structure. Is how truth gets buried. Quietly. The firstism was inevitable when half of human experience is forbidden. It does not vanish. It gathers. And eventually, it demands expression. Some Jedi began exploring emotion. Instead of rejecting it, they felt more. Accessed deeper power. They questioned why such power was forbidden. The Order did not answer. It condemned. Birth of the Sith was not corruption. It was rebellion. The first dark side users did not see themselves as villains. They saw themselves as liberated. They embraced what the Jedi denied. Anger. Desire. Ambition. Not for destruction, but for authenticity. The Sith were not born from evil. They were born from restriction. The Force did not choose sides here. Is a crucial truth the Jedi never accepted. The Force empowered both sides equally. It did not weaken those who embraced emotion. It strengthened them. This alone should have raised questions, but questioning the code meant questioning everything. So instead, the Jedi labeled emotional power as corruption, a convenient moral divide. By framing emotion as dark, the Jedi achieved three things. They preserved internal order. They justified suppression. They defined enemies. Light became obedience. Dark became deviation, not truth. Deviation. The galaxy paid the price as the Jedi Order expanded. This philosophy spread across the galaxy. Force sensitivity became regulated. Children were removed early. Attachment was severed before it could form. Not to serve the Force, but to serve stability. The Jedi believed they were preventing disaster. They never considered they were postponing it. The Force does not forget what is denied. Energy denied expression does not disappear. It accumulates. Every suppressed emotion, every forbidden attachment, every silenced intuition, they pooled beneath the pithal surface of the Order, and the Force recorded everything. End of Part 1. The lie takes root. The Jedi Code began as protection. It evolved into doctrine. Doctrine became identity, and identity became blindness. The cosmic lie was not that emotion was dangerous. The cosmic lie was that peace could exist without wholeness. And in the next part, we'll explore what happened when this lie grew powerful and auto-shaped galactic politics, rewrite prophecy, and set the stage for the greatest collapse the Jedi never saw coming. The Jedi did not lose their power. They lost their sensitivity by the height of the Republic. The Jedi were everywhere. They commanded fleets. They advised senators. They led armies. From the outside, they appeared stronger than ever, but internally, something subtle had changed. The Jedi still used the Force, yet they no longer listened to it. This distinction is everything. Using the Force is mechanical. Listening to the Force is intuitive, and intuition requires feeling. Why the Jedi could no longer sense the Sith. One of the greatest mysteries of the prequel era is simple. How did thousands of Jedi fail to sense a Sith Lord standing beside them? The usual explanation is that the dark side clouded their vision. But this explanation avoids a more uncomfortable possibility. What if the Jedi had already blinded themselves? By suppressing emotion, Jedi dulled the very sensory channels through which the Force communicates danger. The Force does not announce threats logically. It whispers through unexaggerated kentrioshic disturbance. By training themselves to dismiss these sensations, the Jedi learned to ignore warning signs as inner conflict rather than external truth. The dark side didn't hide. The Jedi looked away. Darth Sidious didn't mask himself constantly. He operated in plain sight. He spoke calmly. He displayed patience. He embodied control. In other words, he behaved like a perfect Jedi. This should disturb us. The Jedi trusted serenity because their code told them serenity equaled light. They trusted composure because emotion equaled danger. Sidious exploited the lie flawlessly. Peace became a sedative. The Jedi believed peace was the highest ideal, but peace can be intoxicating. When an organization experiences long-term stability, it stops questioning its assumptions. The Republic had not faced a true Sith threat for centuries. This created confidence. Confidence became complacency. Complacency became spiritual sleep. The Jedi mistook the absence of crisis for balance. The Jedi Council replaced the living Force. Early Jedi followed the Force directly. Later Jedi followed Council. Decisions, protocol, rank precedent. The Force became secondary to bureaucracy. Meditation sessions focused on control, not exploration. Visions that contradicted doctrine were dismissed as emotional disturbance. The Force was no longer the authority. The order was the Jedi Code as a political tool. By the Clone Wars, the Jedi Code had become more than philosophy. It was a political instrument. Detachment made Jedi ideal soldiers. Emotional suppression made them obedient. Lack of attachment made sacrifice easy. The Republic needed generals who would not hesitate. The Jedi Code provided them, but something essential was lost in the process. The Force does not thrive in chains. The Force's movement. War, paradoxically, should have made Jedi more attuned to it. Instead, they grew weaker. Why? Because they experienced war without emotional integration. They witnessed death while denying grief. They commanded troops while denying attachment. They made moral choices while denying doubt. This fractured their inner alignment, and the Force responds poorly to internal contradiction. Why Jedi visions became unreliable. Jedi visions during the prequel era are fragmented, symbolic, and confusing. They see outcomes but misunderstand meaning. This is not coincidence. Visions require emotional context to interpret. Without emotion, visions lose clarity. They become riddles instead of guidance. The Jedi tried to solve them logically. The Force does not speak logic. The Clone Wars were the Force screaming. The teen galaxy was burning. Millions were dying. The Force was in agony. Yet the Jedi interpreted this suffering as necessary. Necessary for order. Necessary for peace. Necessary for victory. What kind of balance requires endless death? What kind of peace demands emotional numbness? The Jedi mistook endurance for righteousness. Anakin was a warning, not an exception. Anakin Skywalker was not flawed. He was honest. He felt fear. He felt rage. He felt grief. The Jedi saw this as weakness, but the Force responded to Anakin more strongly than to any Jedi before him. This should have raised questions. Instead, it raised alarms. The Order tried to fix Anakin by breaking him, rather than teaching Anakin how to integrate emotion. The Jedi tried to suppress it. They denied him guidance and grief. They dismissed his visions. They forbade his love. They asked him to become something unnatural, and when he failed, they blamed him. This is what systems do when their rules are questioned by reality. The prophecy was interpreted. Through the lie, the Chosen One prophecy spoke of balance. But balance according to Jedi logic meant no Sith Jedi. Dominance order without disruption. This interpretation was never tested. It was assumed, because questioning it would require questioning the code itself. The Jedi could not imagine their own end. This is perhaps the deepest blindness. The Jedi believed balance meant their eternal existence. They could imagine the end of the Sith. They could imagine endless war. They could imagine chaos, but they could not imagine a galaxy without the Jedi Order. Any philosophy that cannot imagine its own ending is incomplete. The Force always removes stagnation. Nature does not preserve structures forever. Stars collapse. Empires fall. Species evolve. The Jedi believed they were exempt. The Force disagreed. Why Order 66 worked so perfectly? Order 66 did not succeed because the clones were efficient. It succeeded because the Jedi were unprepared emotionally. They sensed danger too late. They hesitated. They trusted structure over instinct. A Jedi fully connected to emotion would have felt the shift instantly, but emotional sensitivity had been trained out of them. The collapse was not a tragedy. It was a correction. This is difficult to accept. But from the Force's perspective, the fall of the Jedi was not evil. It was necessary. The Order had become rigid. Detached. Disconnected. The Force removes what cannot adapt. Anakin did not destroy balance. He restored motion. Anakin ended the Jedi era. He ended Sith dominance later, but most importantly, he ended stagnation. The galaxy was forced to change. Painfully. Violently. But change returned. The lie was finally exposed. The Jedi Code promised peace. What it delivered was numbness. The Force does not thrive in numbness. It thrives in awareness. End of part 2. The quiet truth: the Jedi did not fail because they were weak. They failed because they were certain that emotion was dangerous, certain that peace was stillness, certain that balance meant control. In part 3, we will go deeper into the Sith, the nature of darkness, why the dark side felt stronger, and why the Force needed the Jedi to fall in order to continue its cycle. The dark side is not evil. It is the suppressed half of the Force for millennia. The Jedi labeled the dark side as corruption. Anger. Fear. Passion. Greed. They taught that embracing these emotions leads to destruction. But consider this: every emotion they feared is natural. Every emotion is a tool for connection. The dark side is not a separate power. It is the other half of the Force, the side the Jedi denied themselves. By suppressing their own emotional spectrum, Jedi created the conditions that allowed the dark side to grow stronger. Sith strength did not come from inherent evil. It came from integration. A feeling without restraint, something the Jedi forbade. Why? The dark side felt stronger than the Jedi power. Responds to intensity. Jedi channels only what is allowed: calmness, serenity, detachment. The Sith channels everything: grief, fear, anger, desire, love, obsession. When a Jedi suppresses emotion, they reduce their potential. When a Sith embraces it fully, the Force responds and the results are spectacular. The galaxy perceives this difference as evil, but the reality is mechanical, not moral. The Jedi Code created the Sith before they even existed. Every act of emotional suppression is stored in the Force. Every denied attachment, every unacknowledged fear, every forbidden grief, it accumulates. Eventually, this pressure must release. The first Sith were not born from temptation. They were born from the repression of the Jedi themselves. They are the natural echo of the Code's own limitations. Prophecy reinterpreted the Chosen One. Prophecy is often cited as Anakin's singular destiny, but let's examine it through the lens of the cosmic lie. The Chosen One will bring balance to the Force. Balance does not mean the Jedi triumph. Balance does not mean the Sith are destroyed. Balance does not mean order survives. Balance means the Force flows fully, emotion flows fully, life flows fully. By suppressing emotion, the Jedi created imbalance. By allowing Anakin to fall, the Force corrected itself. Anakin Skywalker. The Force's instrument. Anakin was not the first Chosen One. He was not inherently special. What made him unique was his emotional intensity, a product of human experience the Jedi sought to suppress. Anakin loved, feared, grieved, hoped, and despaired more fully than any Jedi of his generation. The Force responded not to obedience, but to honest emotion, and this is why he toppled the Jedi Order. The Jedi Code had left them blind. Anakin was the mirror they could not bear to see. The Clone Wars. A Force-driven experiment. The Jedi Council believed the Clone Wars were necessary. They believed they were defending the Republic. But in truth, the galaxy itself was being tested. The Force allowed extreme conflict to occur so that suppressed energy could surface. Every loss, every betrayal, every death was a forceful reminder that emotional suppression cannot coexist with cosmic awareness. The Force was forcing the Jedi to confront the consequences of their lie. Order 66. Ultimate lesson. Order 66 was not just a political maneuver. It was the Force's direct response to stagnation. The Jedi, so certain in their doctrine, were emotionally unprepared. Their detachment became vulnerability. Suppression became blindness. The Force removed the rigid system. It removed the hierarchy. It removed the order itself. And yet, the galaxy survived. Luke Skywalker. Rewriting the lie Luke represents the first moment the Force found a user unbound by the Code. He loved his friends. He forgave his father. He acted with compassion and empathy. He integrated his emotions without losing control. Force responded differently than it ever had in Jedi history. Luke's power was not measured in raw destruction, but in harmony with full experience. The Jedi Code would have rejected Luke, but the Force embraced him. Rey. The Force's rebellion against the Code. Rey is even more revealing. She had no formal Jedi training, no indoctrination. She had raw experience. Instinct. Connection. Her mastery came from listening, not obeying. This proves a critical point. The Force never required the Jedi Code. It required awareness. It required honesty. It required integration of emotion, intuition, and action. The Force does not punish deviation. The Force punishes denial, the lie's hidden effect on galactic history. Because the Jedi Code was so rigid, Republic politics became intertwined with the Order's rigidity. Emotional nuance in Force users was lost to doctrine. Conflict escalated unnecessarily, producing wars that could have been avoided. The Sith rose as unintended consequences, feeding off suppressed energy. Prophecies were misread. The Force corrected itself violently. Every major event in galactic history, from the rise of Sidious to the Clone Wars, is a direct result of the Jedi following a cosmic lie. Cycles of collapse and renewal. This is the true pattern. Emotional suppression gives imbalance, gives rebellion, gives collapse, gives renewal, gives. Repeat. The Jedi believed balance could be achieved by enforcing rules. The Force showed them repeatedly. Rules cannot create balance. Balance is dynamic. Balance is fluid. Balance integrates the light and the shadow. Simultaneously, the Jedi Code attempted to freeze balance in time. The Force refused to be frozen. Why the Sith are necessary? The Sith are not invaders. They are symptoms. They embody what the Jedi deny. Passion, intense the achinich in them. The Force would be incomplete. Without them. Stagnation would destroy the galaxy slowly. Quietly, they exist to remind the Jedi and the galaxy that denial creates imbalance. The cosmic lie revealed. Let us be clear. The Jedi Code was not evil. It was fear disguised as wisdom. It promised order. It delivered stagnation. It forbade excess. It created extremes. The Order believed they were protecting the galaxy. In truth, they were protecting themselves from the unknown. And the Force, infinite and patient, allowed the consequences to unfold. End of Part 3. The lie exposed. By now, the pattern is clear. Suppression leads to imbalance. Doctrine leads to blindness. Obedience leads to collapse. The Jedi were not villains. They were instruments of the lie they themselves believed.